Good afternoon, guys. This is Alex with Elevated Lifestyle Lab Podcast. I have a treat for you today, guys. This is about day number 9 of quarantine with all the coronavirus happening right now. Hope everybody's staying safe out there, keeping their social distancing to 6 feet apart, and using their masks at the grocery store. But I do have a great podcast lined up today, guys. I have a repeat guest, my good friend Dr. Stephen Zanfini. He was with us last episode that I did, number 6. I highly recommend going and check that out. I have him and his good friend Jeff Bush with me today. They're going to talk to us about the immune system, how to properly build the immune system, and we're going to take a little deep dive into 5 recommendations they have for us on how to stay healthy during all this mess. How you doing today, guys?
Good, man. Happy to be here.
Yeah, it's nice to meet you. Nice to meet you, Jeff. It's our first time meeting, so I look forward to it.
Yeah,
Thanks for having us
more to
back
come,
here.
hopefully.
Yeah, man. All right, Stevie. So take us off. I know you have about five topics to cover with us. What's
So we're going to jump into about 5 main principles. This is something that I teach at my practice. I think everybody should be aware of how to fight viruses in general and kind of like the main principles about what's going on here. So that way we can like stay in less of a panic and be healthier. So first one we're going to dive into is about vitamins and minerals and how they are so important to the immune system. So they play an equal part, in my opinion. I think vitamins, I think minerals play 50-50. And I think the problem is just not everyone's aware of how, deficient our minerals are here in America. I mean, we are super, super deficient, and people think that they need to make up for it. So the first idea is, let's go to Walmart, let's go buy a bottle of vitamins. And so if you go to Walmart, GNC, Target, and Walgreens, I believe they're all getting there's all this research backing up that they're not putting what's in their vitamins. Jeff will elaborate more about that, but there are some main concepts to this whole vitamin and mineral, deficiency and how to make it very, very possible to have a very important immune system. So, minerals we get our minerals from a couple different sources. Our minerals come from pelagic sources, which are from the ocean, and we also have our land minerals. Our land minerals are what's mostly everyone's eating and why we're so deficient, because they're not, reharvesting the soil, they're not putting the nutrients back in that we're mainly looking for. So, Jeff, what do you got about that study with Walmart and GNC, Target, and Walgreens, and why we shouldn't basically buy from these guys?
Yeah, well, I mean, in this day and age, and this is one of the biggest things, like being a patient of yours for the last few years, is learning how to, kind of self-medicate, so to speak, and being up to date on the information that's out there, being aware of what you're putting inside of your body, and being aware of how these vitamins, supplements, you name it, where they're coming from and how they're derived. So I am going to read a little bit of a study that Dr. Cohen has done. He did it back in 2007 to 2012 to bring awareness to a huge amount of the store-bought vitamins and supplements contained little to none of what was printed on their labels. And he took it upon himself to make this a worldwide known thing that a lot of people have since forgotten, and this is just a few years ago. So Dr. Cohen was a panelist on supplements and health. Dr. Peter Cohen, along with his colleagues, Drs. Hochman and Bedard, co-authors the educational series Updates in Slow Medicine. Dr. Cohen is a general internist at Cambridge Health Alliance in Somersville, Massachusetts. He is the assistant professor of medicine at Harvard Medical School. His area of clinical expertise and research includes weight loss, preventative medicine, dietary supplements. His work has been published in the New England Journal of Medicine, the JMA, and the JMA International Medicine, and the American Journal of Public Health. So, pretty much an expert in his respective fields. In 2012, researchers published a comment in the Archives of Internal Medicine warning that the current lack of regulation in the industry could lead to adverse events. That same year, Consumer Reports found that more than 6,300 reports of serious adverse events associated with dietary supplements that were sent to the FDA between 2007 and 2012, including minimum of 115 deaths and more than 2,100 hospitalizations, 1,000 serious injuries or illnesses, and 900 emergency room visits. Experts believe these adverse events related to supplements remain underreported and that the real numbers are much higher. In 2012, researchers from Stony Brook University Medical Center tested 36 black cohosh supplements from online and chain stores and found that a quarter of them were not black cohosh at all, but contained an ornamental plant from China, the Asian Actea. In 2013, Canadian researchers used DNA testing on 44 bottles of popular supplements sold by 12 companies. They found that many of the products contained none of what they said they did and were filled with soybeans, wheat, rice instead. 1/3 of the products contained not a trace of the item advertised on the bottle. Some of these places, and I don't mean to bash these stores, but people just need to be aware of what they thought they were buying and how convenient in some of these stores they were that people trust. GNC was one of the stores. 6 popular GNC Herbal Plus brand supplements purchased at 4 different New York State locations were tested. These included ginkgo biloba, St. John's wort, ginseng, garlic, echinacea, and saw palmetto. Results found no trace of the actual herb in the ginkgo biloba, St. John's wort, ginseng, or echinacea products. They found positive results for saw palmetto in only one of the samples. Garlic was the only one that tested positive in all tests. Yeah, because how can you fake garlic?
It's cheap.
Yeah, you can't
It's
get
all
past
about
the
product.
smell. Fillers, tests also discovered that supplements contain DNA from rice, beans, houseplants, spruce, asparagus, wheatgrass, citrus, and primrose. Target, another one of these so-called trusted companies. 6 of Target's own Up and Up brand dietary supplements purchased at 3 different New York State locations were tested. These included ginkgo biloba, St. John's wort again. So same thing. Most tests did not find any echinacea or saw palmetto, or found a little, but almost none. All tests found garlic again. The fillers included the same, DNA from rice, beans, houseplants. Same thing was done at Walgreens and Walmart. So this is something that people have to be aware of, and this is why it's so important to listen to what Dr. Steve has here to say today, because you need to find a trusted source for the vitamins and the minerals you're putting inside your body. You need to be aware, and you need to inform yourselves. So that's kind of what we're trying to do here today, is bring awareness to the masses for people to understand that there are people out there that can help you and bring trusted sources. So, Steve, I'll kind of...
Well, the reasoning behind all this is because the FDA doesn't approve anything. Anything over the counter, it's not approved by the FDA. It does not have to be third-party tested, and that's where we're going with this. Most of the stuff that's over the counter is not third-party tested. So let's say Jeff, Alex, and I decide, hey, we want to open up some magic miracle vitamin tomorrow. We could put it literally on the shelves at GNC if we wanted to. And if we got third-party tested, then, hey, we're going to have lawsuits ahead of us. And that's basically what these companies are doing. They're so big, they don't care. Right. They put fillers and cheap products in it, and then that's when they get into trouble. So you have, how many deaths was that? How many?
It was 115.
There's a
and that
lot
was
of cases. The whole point.
And that was in a 5-year span.
These companies get tested. They're obviously buying from the same manufacturer wherever they're producing all of this product from. Mm-hmm. They're obviously buying from the same guy because guess what? It's the cheapest on the market. Well, the cheapest on the market doesn't always get you what you're getting, and plus, the studies didn't even have traces of it in it. You know what I mean? So it's like what are you getting? Wood dust, rice. I mean, if you have a grain problem,
houseplants. What DNA from houseplants?
You think you're doing the right thing?
You chew up your fern in your house? No, thank you.
We're in a viral crisis right now, and you think you're doing the right thing by going to the store and saying, okay, I need echinacea. You go buy echinacea. Let's say you got celiac disease now. You've got a gut issue with wheat and grain, and all of a sudden you start taking echinacea and it's stuffed with garlic. Now we got a problem. Now you're going to the hospital. That's how that works. Those are anaphylactic shock type of treatments and all kinds of reactions that people are getting from fake ingredients. So, there's a lot of reasons why you shouldn't buy over the counter, and this is why we say it. They're not third-party tested. The FDA does nothing about third-party testing. They don't care. So the companies that like what we use and what we sell and what we research that are the best in the country, we're basically having third-party testers like GMP certified. Our labels are stamped. We have like third-party companies coming in, testing our products and saying, okay, this is exactly what it is. It passes 100% inspection of what you say it is. Boom, you can address it. So these companies like Numedica, Metagenics, all these big companies that I use across the country, Orthomolecular, all these big, gastrointestinal functional medicine companies, they are third-party testing, but not only by one company, they're testing by like multiples of the best because it costs a lot of money and they know that they can be the best in the country if they have all these third-party testers. And then if you've got the research that shows what the results are actually doing, it's really like shooting fish in a bucket. I mean, it's that easy to fix the gut when you know what your product is.
You're putting the right thing in there.
Yes, you think you're doing right by going to GNC, Walmart. I mean, GNC, everyone thinks that. Not to bash these guys. I mean, I have plenty of managers and patients that work at GNC, but you know what? Your name showed up on the list. I'm sorry. I didn't do that. You did that. You know what I mean? Like, I send people to GNC for certain herbs, but very, very, very minimal. Only like on companies that I can't get, or certain like addressed herbs that most of these companies have no idea about that I kind of read about that I said, I think this will work, So there's a lot of mushrooms out there right now that are opening up all these different pathways to the brain, to the nervous system. I mean, you just don't know unless you try it. But you got to be really careful on some of the products that you are buying, like fish oils over the counter. I mean, you go to Walmart and you could buy 2 bottles of fish oil for $10.
Yeah. It's like, where are you getting that fish from?
You should see what's in that oil. It's loaded with lead. PCBs have higher cancerous levels than anything over the counter on that shelf right there. So you think, okay, I need omega-3 oil. It's really good for me. Let me go to Walmart, buy a bottle of fish oil. Well, I just put nothing but pure cancer in my body. We know that fish is toxic. If we would you love to eat sushi every day? Because I know I would. I would eat raw tuna every day, but we know that it's high in mercury, it's high in lead, it's high in PCBs. Fish is very, very, very toxic in excess. And that's going to lead us to our next bullet point. But fish is very toxic in excess, which is why you want to pay these companies, like the fish oil companies that I use here, everything is filtered. It's filtered for everything, and it's third-party tested to prove it doesn't have lead in it.
Not only that, as a person that's used both, I mean, before I knew you, yeah, I was going to some of these same stores and buying these products. You don't feel anything when you take these.
Yeah,
when
you
you
feel
take
no
anything that Dr. Steven has here, I mean, you take his fish oil, you notice a difference.
Well,
You
I'd
take his
mentioned that on
calcium
our-
meg, you notice
Yeah.
a difference in a few days.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, Alex, I didn't mean to cut
No,
you
no,
off
no.
there.
Sorry, I was going to say we had talked about that, or I talked about it last podcast. He has the mineral drink that he has, and I told him the same thing. You know, I can tell when I'm depleted of all these minerals and vitamins because after you drink it, you just get that kind of buzz, that you just feel great. You know,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know you were
nice-
low on
nice
something.
electric.
And as a young, pretty healthy guy, I mean, they're kind of scary too, because when you take that and you feel that instant buzz,
You're
it
like,
lets you
whoa.
know how deficient your body is.
Yeah,
on
what
it.
was I missing?
You
Yeah,
know?
So there's remember, it's a 50-50 equation.
Yeah.
That's the whole idea of what we talked, why we're talking, why not to buy the sources over the counter, why to buy more at our store so that we have the research to back up what we're using. But it's also from the pelagic standpoint, when you put different forms of minerals in, remember minerals, people think during a viral crisis, right, like we're in right now, they think they load up on all the vitamins, but they're forgetting 50% of the equation. You need minerals too. Mm-hmm. You need minerals. Minerals are the voltage of the body. That's what boosts and charges the body to make the vitamins work well.
Well, like you had mentioned earlier at the beginning of the podcast, how there's limited. The ground that all these foods are being grown from, the vegetables and stuff, it just doesn't have the minerals that it has before, and there's a limited amount of harvests left that's going to even be able to be produced. So you have to get that. You're eating broccoli, you think you're getting something,
The
but
truth is,
Or it's been genetically modified out.
yeah,
And
the
DNA has been
bioavailability
changed.
is
if
shit.
you're not Vitamixing, juicing in the morning, putting your
Yeah.
kale, putting your your strawberries, your blueberries, your coconut oils, all that stuff in there and getting all those essential nutrients, if you're not doing it, you have to supplement it. You're
Yeah.
going to get sick. You're going to develop a gut issue from autoimmunity to cancer. So you could pick either one. One's one hemisphere of the brain, the other one's the other. So
Yeah, well, that's one thing I wanted to kind of get your take on it too. Is how many lifestyle choices do people from 15 to 18, people from 20 to 30 do habitually on a daily basis? And I'm referring to, let's say, just for example, energy drinks and a lot of fast food chains. Where people it's cheap, it's everywhere. You turn on a TV, you see any sort of commercial, and it's drawing you directly to both of those two things. You have kids, they want to go get a Happy Meal. I mean, there's always something drawing you back to these places. So it makes up a big portion of what a lot of people eat in this country and around the world. And, these people are eating food that does nothing except pollute and poison the body, attack the gut. Like, this is a big thing you're talking about. So, I mean, I know that a lot of these vitamins and things you're going to allude to here are going to help with a lot of these things. So could you kind of explain to people how some of these things are going to help inside the body? How is it going to help you kind of balance out your let's say not clean living or your not so good lifestyle choices, and how do you boost those things?
Yep, it's simple tricks. So we carry lots of this stuff. We carry the pelagic minerals, and we also carry the land minerals. So I have both forms. There's lots of power greens and forms of that. That's what everybody's really common to, but really makes a difference in the mineral department, I believe. And when you boost it up is that drink that we were talking about. These are pelagic minerals from the Mediterranean Sea. These things are sharp. I mean, these are from kelps, algae, and all these greens on the bottom of that sea. The Mediterranean Sea is the saltiest body of water of the sea. So, I mean, it's like it actually has more minerals than Himalayan salt. So it's got more than 75 to 78 minerals plus all these phytonutrients. I mean, it is a volt. That's all we'll call it. So we can leave it there with the vitamins and minerals and why to stay away from it. We carry these products in our office. If anybody's interested, we'll provide all the information at the end on how to attain these objects too. So.
Great.
So
I guess kind of more of what I was asking there too is those lifestyle choices are gonna lower your immune system. It's
Big
going to
time.
crash it.
Big
It's
time.
going to have gut issues, and this is where a lot of these ailments stem from. And a lot of people that are younger, that are, let's say, we're in the midst of this corona epidemic right now, and there's a lot of misinformation out about it, and a lot of people are worried. There's a lot of young mothers, there's a lot of younger people that early on in this, that, well, it's not really affecting the young and the healthy, and all of a sudden they're seeing a lot of these news articles coming out, it is affecting the young and it is affecting the healthy. Well, how do these people know if they were truly that healthy? Because a lot of these underlying gut issues, you don't know you have it until something like this comes along and it affects you. There's something now here that's going to let you know, hey, you haven't been making the best lifestyle choices. You're not eating clean. You're drinking maybe too much alcohol. You're, a number of different things. Basically, everything that we do in our lifestyle, unless you're actively balancing it out, taking vitamins, minerals, nutrients like you're talking about, you're on a downhill slide.
Absolutely.
And you're not helping your gut. You're making it worse. And then it doesn't manifest in your body until something really sinister happens.
Well, it also ages too.
Remember?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that too. Yeah, but I
Aging-
mean,
aging's real.
I know you have some secrets here. Your vitamin A, your vitamin D that we're going to get into later. So, can you kind of explain to us how that directly boosts your immune system? Why it's so important for the body to have? And it's something that sounds super simple, but why is that one of your big secrets?
What, vitamin A in general? Vitamin A? So vitamin A it's a big secret, I think. A lot of people don't know about it. When I say vitamin A to the average person, they have no idea what I'm talking about. Nobody understands what even vitamin A is in, let alone nobody's really eating it either. So there's a couple of different forms. There's retinol form and there's beta carotene, but we know that from a study that Merck manual. So in the Merck manual, it's basically the Bible of medical schools, and it has all of the different vitamin toxicity and deficiency information on what medical doctors and what main doctors are allowed to prescribe as vitamin A by the rules. So this comes out of a Chapter 16 study, and I talk about this to a lot of my patients because it's out there for everyone to read. It's just who opens up a Merck manual and just decides to pop into vitamin A one day.
Who even knows what the Merck manual is?
Yeah. So the Merck manual is literally, it looks like a Bible, and it is the basically handbook of medical school.
So you're saying this is what doctors learn from?
They
how to become
have
a
to
doctor.
follow the rules in this book, and this company is Merck Labs. Okay, Merck Labs is one of the largest labs out there. So out of Chapter 16, we're going to go into the front page here, and they talk a lot about toxicity. So a lot of people always say this to me, like, hey, if I take too much of this vitamin, am I going to get toxic? Because I heard you get toxic. And I'm like, okay, well, what do you mean by toxicity? And they have no idea because all the doctors did was freak them out that they were going to get toxic without even describing what kind of toxicity they were going to experience. So I said, okay, let me talk to you about toxicity. So in the Merck manual on Chapter 16, we're going to talk about the hypervitaminosis of vitamin A. On the front page here it says, chronic poisoning in older children and adults usually develops after doses above 100,000 IUs, which is 33,000 micrograms a day, have been taken for months. Infants may develop evidence of toxicity within a few weeks when given 20,000 to 60,000 IUs a day of water-dispersible vitamin A. So what they're talking about here is we're not really talking about beta carotene here. We're talking about palmitate version here. If you decide that you're going to take that much milligrams of vitamin A that is beta carotene, you're going to be itching. You're going to feel like you're going to crawl out of your skin. And that's why people don't really play with vitamin A, because if it takes one bad experience, you're going to really be uncomfortable with it. So you got to know what you're shopping for when you play with vitamin A. And again, we're going to talk about, like we talked about with the quality of the vitamins and the minerals before. You just don't want to go to, if these people are putting lead, PCBs, and mercury in your vitamins over the counter, imagine what the vitamin A is going to have. It also comes from fish. So you're going to get toxicity in that vitamin A as well. So that's why you buy from doctors, holistic doctors, even if holistic medical doctors. I know plenty of them in town that do this. So in this study, they say basically if you ate 100,000 IUs a day as an adult, 20 to 60,000 IUs a day as a child, you'd be toxic. Let's go to the last page. On the last page, we're going to talk about deficiency now. So what this study did was for treatment of vitamin A, in a recent study, vitamin A, 400,000 IUs given orally reduced morbidity and mortality in malnourished African children with severe measles. Okay, so they say on the front page in the Merck manual that if you took 100,000 IUs a day as an adult, you would be toxic. But they went into a third world country here in malnourished African children with severe measles in the entire area, and they went and gave these kids 400,000 IUs. That kind of says against the book. And then it says they completely orally reduced morbidity and mortality in these malnourished kids. So that's got to tell you something there. So one, you should open up your mind and say, okay, what's going on here? They gave these kids 4 times the dose of an adult dose they say would be toxic. Okay, so that's kind of, I don't know. That's kind of odd. These kids didn't get toxic, obviously, because they completely reduced morbidity and mortality of measles. Okay, measles is a virus. That's the other thing you got to kind of open your mind up to and say, okay, measles, okay, maybe it's serious sometimes for malnourished, immune compromised kids, but in the reality of the big spectrum in America, it's not a big deal, okay? You could take vitamin A clearly and get rid of measles, is what the Merck manual says. I mean, they did it right here on paper in the study. So if this is the case, then measles isn't like that serious of a virus. On a scale of 1 to 10, we'll put it as like maybe a 1 or a 2, and we could put cancer all the way as a 10 because it's a really serious virus, or we could even put the COVID-19 at the end of the spectrum. But the truth is that if this thing's eating up measles, why wouldn't you take it for prevention of viruses in general then?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
why not?
General boosting immunity.
Why not?
Yeah.
If you got rid of it in children that are malnourished, imagine if your kid doesn't eat McDonald's every meal of the day. He actually gets nutrients, and his immune system is slightly stronger than some third world country kids, immune system. And you pump maybe 50 to 100,000 IUs of just vitamin A for prevention. Imagine how much stronger your immune system is going to be. So obviously vitamin A, the fat solubles are the big ones that say, they say be careful with toxicity. I don't know. I mean, I don't address someone that's take 400,000 IUs personally, but it's like, they did this and these kids got better. So maybe if I cut that dose to like maybe a quarter or an eighth or something, maybe it's going to help me overall in general. Where I'm not going to be toxic, but I'm just going to get enough to build my immune system.
So basically what you're saying is vitamin A should be something that everybody is taking daily, but you need a good source of vitamin A. What you're saying is retinol palmitate. You want to stay away from beta-carotene.
Yes.
Because that's what gets a bad rap. And you're saying if you overload on the beta-carotene, it could make your skin itch and you can have the adverse
beta-carotene
reaction.
doesn't do anything for the immune system,
right.
to be truthful.
No.
It's what's orange. It's the orange pigment that's in carrots and sweet potatoes and stuff, but there's not really like there's not an immune factor to it like the retinol palmitate is. So you go on to take the retinol palmitate, and when you're going to dose up with this.
And it goes back to just finding out what's in these things. When I run out and I don't have time to run up here and grab some from you, I've looked around at the store before, even at Whole Foods and at some of these organic stores, and you just look at what's mixed in with the vitamin A, and it's just soybean oil and seed oil, and it's like, man,
there's only a couple that are decent out on the market.
Yeah.
Like, if you're unable to come see Dr. Steve or get any of his products here, let's say we're sold out, you can always, the Now brand is another one that's similar.
Now it's good.
And that's something that a lot of people can get their hands on. It's not quite as good as what Steve has got going on here, but if you're in a bind or if you're a person that just needs something immediately and that's what you can get, that's another good form.
The truth of the factor is this too: vitamin A costs $9 a bottle.
Yeah.
It's so cheap to get. It's so cheap to make, to derive. I'm currently working with New Medica right now on how to make one. I want to make a really powerful vitamin A with these guys because the truth is that the fat solubles are the ones that really boost your immune system. Vitamin A and vitamin D especially. We know all the research, there's tons of it out there that shows that D3 and vitamin A are the big key factors in the immune system of building. So if I know that I'm like running out of vitamin A, what I do is I boost up on my vitamin D3 now. I crank that up because I know it's a fat soluble. They're not the water solubles like the B's and the C's where if you take too much of it, you just flush it out and pee it out. That's where you take too much B and your urine looks like the Hulk's urine. It's like highlighter kind of.
Yeah.
So that's all the B vitamins you didn't process, but you took what you needed. It's the same thing. Just boost up. I mean, I don't know. I don't believe in toxicity as much as this study. I just don't take that dose. I just do it more for prevention. But again, you think you're doing right, you go to Walgreens, you buy their vitamin A, it's loaded with chemicals and toxicity and all kinds of stuff. You really don't know because it's not third-party tested. So we carry this stuff at our office, and it's literally $9 a bottle. I think the cheapest vitamin in the world is the most powerful vitamin in the world, just based on what these studies say right here. And that's the way I play because I believe Merck Labs has a lot of power, and I believe that they know what they're talking about when they put their studies published like this. And if they did this, I'm okay with it. I stand behind them on this product.
I mean, that kind of makes sense to me.
You know what I mean? So we're with
going
them.
from the
we
source.
believe that what you're doing is working. You did vitamin A study with measles. We're going to play the same way.
No. So how much vitamin A do you recommend that most of your patients take, let's say, for preventative measures?
So, I mean, as an adult, I'm taking 100,000 IUs a night right now. And for children, I would say 50,000, something like that. You don't need to take too much. You just need some. And if you do it daily, you're going to build an immune system up consistently and not have these up and down swings where if you forget to take your vitamins for a month and all of a sudden COVID-19 is in your area, you're one of the vulnerability of getting the virus now. So if you take just a little bit every night and just keep it right there before bed, you just knock your vitamin A before bed, and you're done. A little bit every night. Just 100,000 for adults, I would say in these circumstances right now. Remember, our
right,
immune
to deal with the
systems,
COVID issue right now. No,
our immune
make yourself
systems,
impervious.
our immune systems are getting challenged
No.
more than ever right now, only because of the surroundings. People are freaking out because they don't know what to do. But the truth is every time you freak out, you are producing cortisol. Every time the adrenals stimulate cortisol, that means your immune system goes down. So every time you stress and freak and you watch the news, boom, you just got hit. So turn the news off, boost your vitamins up, and go out and do some exercise. Simple as that.
Yeah.
Do what you need to do, prevent the virus. If you're on heavy medications, the best of luck to you.
Yeah, it's tough.
All right, so you always prescribe taking the D3 along with the vitamin A. Can you go in a little bit about why that's important to take the D3, kind of how it is going to boost the body, and why you take that along with the vitamin A, and how those two together are going to kind of create this shield that kind of makes you impervious to these viruses. And let's face it, there are billions of viruses out there. This is the one that we're dealing with today. Tomorrow there could be a brand new one, or this one could mutate again, like it has done several times already. So I mean, this is
it's pretty
why
common.
is the importance for
It's
this?
pretty similar to the concept of vitamin A. To be honest, it's a fat soluble that really cranks the immune system. There's a million research articles on vitamin D3. The company that I like the most, it doesn't taste very good, but it's a micellized D3. It goes under your tongue by Numetica. It really powers houses. I've shown it on blood work. I could bring people's D3 rates through the roof where it's like, okay, slow down a little bit. We don't need to crank it that much. Because you don't need like super, super high levels. You just need high enough levels to protect yourself. So vitamin D3, I would just Google research vitamin D3 if you've never have. You'll find millions of articles on what it actually does for the body, for the immune system.
So you're saying it's the power and testimonials for just the average Joe Schmo that doesn't know anything about this. You want to find out something, the results are undeniable.
It has so many factors to it. It's good for the immune system. It's good for bones. I mean, if you have osteopenia for the women that get older in their 40s, 50s, 60s, the ones that have bone density issues, that have osteopenia, osteoporosis, D3 is a major factor in this. You need to have D3. Keeps your bones strong. Everyone thinks that calcium is what keeps bones strong. That's a big misnomer. Calcium does not keep bones strong. Magnesium does. So magnesium glycinate is what I like to use, and I like to use a D3. Put those two together, and all of a sudden you've got immunity and bone strength. That's really important for the women, especially as we get older, because as women get older, they don't eat a lot of things with D in it, and they start to lose their bone density, and all of a sudden they're like osteopenia, osteoporosis. You take these two things, I could show it on DEXs all day long, that you can go from osteoporosis to osteopenia and start getting out of the cycle just by putting nutrients in the body to give the bones what they need. And D3 is a major factor in that, as well as immune system for just about everybody. Everybody can take D3. Babies should take D3. I put all my babies on D3 here. Every single one, right?
Yeah.
Didn't I put your baby
My
on
baby's
D3
on it.
from the beginning stages?
Sure.
It goes in the bottle. They don't taste it. And guess what? Their immune system gets charged up as a baby.
Yeah.
Every single...
Well, then you're cutting out a lot of jaundice, and a lot of baby, and just about every baby is going through this when they first come out.
If you're alive, you need D3.
No.
That's it.
Yeah.
If you have a pulse, you need D3. And read the research if you don't believe me. Like, if you don't, these are the people that don't take it that are getting cancer quicker.
So basically, during the 1918 influenza outbreak, when the medicine was a little bit behind time, especially where we're at now, and they found out that just by having people outside, getting fresh air, staying up on their liquids, and getting plenty of D3 from the sun was enough to help curtail that pandemic. So what you're saying is now, 100 years later, we have these processes way more fine-tuned, and you have tremendous sources that are third-party tested, that are fat-soluble, that will boost your immune system and go in to build the gut. And, that's going to probably be the next thing we get into here, because I know you're kind of, so to speak, like a gut doctor. You know what I mean? You're a chiropractor, but I mean, this is what you boost, and this is what you boosted in me. This is what I felt a big difference in everyday life from here on out, and I'm very thankful for it. And hopefully we can kind of convey this message to people that are interested in finding out, hey, maybe my gut's not where it should be. And I can start taking vitamin A, vitamin D, and a few other things we're going to get into here. So can you kind of expand upon that and how you build gut and why that's so important?
Yeah, so do you want to talk about how to build it, or do you want to
maybe
how
just
it
give
breaks
people
down first?
just a quick a description of the microbiome in the gut, just to maybe give people an idea of what you're kind of talking about.
There's a couple key factors. We do a lot of gut stuff here at the office. I do a lot of it through stool testing. I can find out what's going on functionally through the gut just through your poop alone. I know it's gross and all, but it really works, and it tells me what's going on from the three main reasons I'm looking for on why the gut breaks or what we have to do to build it. One is infections, pathogens. I want to see what kind of bacteria, I want to see what kind of viruses, worms, parasites,
Candida,
fungus. Yeah. In adults, it's more like alcohol, drugs, inflammatory foods, gluten, wheat, and dairy, processed foods, fake sugars, Diet Coke.
We're going to get into that today, but
what's that?
Overuse of antibiotics.
Overuse of antibiotics. I mean, and that comes again from the kid level. I think people develop guts when they're like a bad gut when they start as a childhood. It either is usually from excess milk. If they have a milk problem, it's going to create a leaky gut problem. And most parents don't know that you're not supposed to give your kid milk. I don't care what pediatricians say. I have enough research to slap them all in the faces and say, you're all idiots. You should not be giving any child milk. Here's the research on what it does and why you should not do it, yet they still do it because the milk industry is a big money industry and it's big into the pediatric world. So we'll leave it at that, but you know what? All the research says you should not be drinking it. It's inflammatory, it causes leaky gut, and then all of a sudden, all of the gut membrane starts to leak into the bloodstream. If there becomes an antibody response, we're going to have an autoimmune condition. Look how many kids these days have autoimmune conditions. How the heck did they get it? How'd they get it?
Processed foods and...
Food and milk, dairy. Dairy. Cut the dairy out. It's disgusting, okay? Go watch the videos on YouTube on how they process this dairy. They skim the infection off the top of the milk, then they pasteurize it. It's the most disgusting thing you'll ever watch. More of your milk you're drinking is more pus than milk, so it's disgusting, okay? And it's not healthy.
I was able to give up milk, but I can't give up my cheese. So I take your
Cheese is
probiotics and I load up on the immune boosting protocols
for
that you provide
for you people that just sit down and say, I'm going to have a glass of milk, it's purely disgusting.
Yeah.
It's purely disgusting. I'm sorry. So it kills your gut, kills your leaky gut. The casein protein.
A big thing of chocolate milk after a workout's probably not recommended, right?
No
that's
way.
That's what a lot of they push. You want a big protein shake?
Okay,
some
so all the
chocolate milk.
bodybuilders,
some probiotic pills.
all the bodybuilders, all the big guys, they all drink chocolate milk. How healthy are these guys really? I mean, they all die in their 50s and 60s because of steroid use and big,
large hearts.
They cheat everything they can. I mean, you cut corners, you're going to live a shorter life. As simple as that.
Yeah.
So if you want to live to like 60 and go 0 to 100 the whole way, you could do that. But I mean, I'm going to slow down a little bit. I'm not going to do that stuff. I'm going to cut the milk out because it's disgusting. There's no research that proves that milk is what you're needed in your baby's gut. I don't care if it says it has D3 on the label. Guess what? We already talked about that. You could give your baby D3 right in the bottle of breast milk. We'll call it a day. You do not need, there's no need for cow's milk in the baby's gut. No. It does nothing but destroy it, and that's what destroys it. Then guess what? The milk causes ear infections. You go to the medical doctor, he gives you antibiotics. Give you amoxicillin. Amoxicillin starts to destroy the gut. Now the milk's destroying the gut. The doctor doesn't tell you to stop taking milk either. Still doesn't talk about it. When you're sick, what's the last thing you want to drink? Milk. It'll make everything mucusy.
Yeah, it phlegms
milk
you up.
Causes mucus.
No.
Guess what viruses love to eat? Mucus. Where do you think the virus is attacking everyone from? The sinuses. That's where the mucus builds up. The number one thing you should be eliminating in your diet if you really are trying to be COVID-19 prevention, how about we cut milk out first before we even take vitamins? Because if you create mucus and build those sinuses up, then with all the environmental, allergies going on, all these trees pollinating right now, like you're really creating a disaster for that virus to go in there and just manifest. Because the sinuses are the coldest membrane in the body. That's where the virus loves to go from. It can manifest quickly and spread and go right to the lungs. And that's how it works. So keep your sinuses clean. Guess what? Don't drink milk. It's disgusting.
Yeah, I think that on a side note, I think that's important, especially with the gut. Is you can take all these vitamins, which is also it's good, but if you have a shitty diet and you're just eating loads of processed foods and you're stopping at fast foods, I mean, I would still recommend taking these vitamins, but you have to start with what you're putting in your body. I think it's a huge thing, and I think that's a big wake up call for what's going on. People are, which I feel like if you watch mainstream news, you don't get the full aspect. They don't take advantage of mentioning taking your vitamins and staying healthy and just doing these things that we're recommending that could be very simple and not taking prescription type medicines, but actually healthy type medicines. And I think it's a good time to it's a good wake up call for a lot of people.
Yeah, it is. The holistic piece of the puzzle is finally coming to the surface now to know what prevention for this viral epidemic and pandemic is going on now. The holistic world is getting alive now. People are like, man, I really need some vitamins. What do I do now? It's like, Let me teach you, Daniel.
Come this way.
We've
Come
been
this
doing
way.
this for a while now.
Wax on, wax off.
So the repetition, I think, in the process of way the gut officially breaks down is it turns from milk to infections in the gut, because we know milk does cause infections, and then the antibiotics start to come in, destroys the gut. Now we have a gut factor in the whole entire kid's life. That's me. I was ear infections, gave me a ton of drugs. All of a sudden, now I've got bowel issues my entire life. Yeah. I mean, I had this. This is every kid that has overuse of drugs, overuse of antibiotics. So it turns into an adult stage now, and if you don't know to take your probiotics, your fish oils, your healthy vitamins and minerals, then you're gonna start. Let's say you start drinking. You go to college now. You're a college kid. You start drinking. It starts dealkalizing your gut, makes it very acidic. Now all of a sudden you have more infections manifesting because an acidic environment is very healthy for a bacterial infection. So now you have all this alcohol, then you get sick again, so let's put some more pharmaceutical drugs in.
Let's eat some pizza on top of it.
I know I ate a ton of Z-Packs when I was in college. I mean, that's just life, right?
Yeah.
You don't know better. And then you start eating inflammatory foods because you're eating, Luna Pizza at 4 a.m. in Colmater Street. That's great, too. That's really put a bomb in your gut right at the end of the night. And then we wonder why we're going to have an ear infection the next day.
Right.
And then, hey, maybe I might even had a Diet Coke because I was reserving calories because I ate so much pizza.
Because it's diet.
Because the diet was so bad. It's like, okay, here we go. So that's the creation of how the gut breaks right there. I think milk starts it, but I think the end products are all of lifestyle habits that really just break and break and break.
So would you say it's safe to say that the majority of our population has these current issues?
Oh, gosh. I think the estimated percentage out there research-driven is 70% of Americans have a leaky gut
So what you're saying is a huge majority of society is just primed and ready for something like COVID-19 to come through and just run rampant, attack everybody with low, de-elevated immune systems. I mean, we're talking also most people are not up to date on their vitamins, so you're vitamin deficient.
Yes.
You're pre-leaky gut, or you have an inflamed gut that is now putting toxins inside your body, and you're loading up on traditional medicine, which is now having an adverse reaction in your body, or you've been buying these supplements thinking you're helping yourself, but you're actually not doing anything. You're putting houseplants and
toxins in your body.
Now remember, the viruses all play together too. When you get hit and you get sick, you don't get hit with one thing usually. You get hit with multiple things. That's the way these things play. Because remember, trying to say that there is a cure for a virus is absolutely crazy impossible. Okay, it changes the DNA. That's the way viruses work, and they replicate very quickly into the nervous system. It's impossible to say I'm going to go after and kill a virus. You're not going to do that. But if you keep an immune system strong enough that where a virus comes into contact, your immune system can actually destroy the virus.
Before it changes your DNA, before it changes your DNA, before it goes dormant in your gut.
Yes, before it goes dormant in your gut.
Because once you get to that point, if you don't have a boosted immune system, it's foregone conclusion.
That's
it's
why
going to now live in your gut forever.
Exactly.
So once you have it, you can never get rid of it.
So once you're immune compromised, that's why these children develop hand, foot, mouth, all these viruses like crazy, measles. It's like outbreaks like crazy of viruses. These kids have no immune system. These kids need to be on some vitamin D3, some colostrum. We'll talk about how to build the gut. But they also need some really strong stuff, really strong probiotics to start to fix the problem. Because remember, when you get hit with one problem, all the viruses come out of dormancy and they like to attack you at once. You may not be getting hit by one virus. I have lab tests that show people get hit by 4 or 5 viruses at the same time.
Sure, that's where
all these
the
Coxsackie
complications
viruses are coming out with the Epstein-Barr virus. Now, I think 90% of us have Epstein-Barr too. Okay, we get that from our moms, and we can pass it through fluids very, very, very easily. I think every single one of us has Epstein-Barr. So if you get hit with COVID-19, you're not only getting hit by that, I guarantee you Epstein-Barr's coming out to play too. Now you got to knock 2 viruses down. What if you got hand, foot, and mouth, and you got some Coxsackie virus when you were a kid too? Now you got 4 viruses you got to knock down. You better start pounding some freaking vitamin A. Merck Lab said to do it. Just saying. You know what I mean? You can't build a gut like that. You have to put certain things in the gut that really make sense, Well,
the other thing I'm hearing, too, is this is kind of like a lifestyle wake-up call and a lifestyle change, because this is not something you can do for a month or 2 months and get your symptoms back up from a horrible level to a decent, livable level. You're saying these are things you have to make part of your daily habit.
Right.
You need to take vitamin A and D the rest of your life.
Right.
If you want to keep your immune system elevated and not have these let's say,
up and down swings.
Bad reminders from your past come out from your childhood when you got these viruses come back out to play.
Exactly.
So you're saying if you keep your immune system elevated and you take vitamin A, you take vitamin D, and some of the other things we're going to go into here later, these viruses stay dormant, never come back out to bother you. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think honestly, I think everybody should do a poop test. Do a poop test. Because I don't know what's
So
going.
what, you want all our viewers to poop in a bag and mail it to you? I hope not.
No, you're going to send it to a lab. But I mean, if you do a poop test, I can see what's going on in your gut, and I don't have to guess. I don't have to guess at all. I know if you have a pathogen
so
problem.
you're not shooting in the dark. You'll give them concrete answers.
I could put you on 16 supplements at once if you really want to and not get a poop test. But what if you don't have candida and I could save you 3 supplements, or you don't have like parasites or worms or anything like that? I mean, you can really like hone in on maybe it's just a pure leaky gut problem and it's inflamed because you had H. pylori.
Can you also tell that if you're getting inflamed by maybe a certain type of food, or if maybe gluten or dairy is a problem?
Absolutely.
It can be. You can find that out through these tests.
So remember, the reason why we're doing the poop testing to see what the problem with the gut is the 3 main principles, I do at least, is for 1, pathology, what's living in there, 2, leaky gut, and 3, food. I want to see if food is really trashing you. And not only it has a food marker in general, but it also has a celiac gluten panel on it too. So it has a panel that tells me if like wheat is really a problem for you. Because then when you go to, when you go to Walmart and go buy some vitamin, some fish oil or whatever, echinacea, and it's got rice in it, and all of a sudden you already have a rice problem, now you just put bomb in your gut. So you got to be like really careful on what you're putting in there too, you know what I mean? So I think it goes a long way with that. So you got to know where you're going with what to do. I think the poop test is the best way to guide into the direction of where to go. We may need immune boosting, we may need pathology done, we may need like leaky gut formulas. We're going to talk about that on the next one.
So what you're saying is anybody that is really experiencing issues with their gut should absolutely do this stool test.
Well,
I mean, anybody in general, but I mean, once it gets to that point.
Statistically, you should, because American population says 70% of the Americans have a leaky gut. So if you really want to know, like, let's say you think you look really good and you're really healthy, people could look really good on the outside and look like really bad shit on the inside.
Right.
Okay? You see people drinking diet sodas and breaking their gut every day with eating crappy foods. Those people aren't going to live forever. I don't care what you think. In today's society, with what they're putting in our foods, there's no way. Back in the day, you could have got away with it. No way in today's food. There's no way.
So let's talk about what is, like, let's say from the moment you're born, what's the best way to boost your gut, to boost your immune system? And to my knowledge and the common knowledge is to get the nutrients and the vitamins that you need in the colostrum from mother's milk. Mm-hmm. And that only lasts for so long, up to maybe 2 years of your child's life. And then what do you do from there?
So because we say colostrum, but you got to really, there's a couple different types of colostrum in the country. There's serum derived and there's also breast milk derived. So when people think colostrum, they're like, well, that's milk. And we were just bashing milk. So people are going to go, that doesn't make any sense. Well, it does. There's polyrich peptides that are in the colostrum itself, and you could actually pull it from the mom in the blood of the cow. So they're pulling it from the blood where it's not a dairy allergy issue anymore now. You could have all those polyrich peptides that are really what seals the gut up on that colostrum. So you got to know, like, if you have a dairy issue, let's say you did a food sensitivity panel, or you did a stool test and it shows that dairy is not a problem, you could take the colostrum that's dairy based. You're not going to have a problem with it. But if you definitely have a food problem, you cannot take that. It'll create mucus. It'll give you sinus infections. It'll give you a lot of problems. It won't heal you. It'll create inflammation. It'll make your gut get hotter, basically. So colostrum, I mean, think about it. When a baby,
where are people going to get colostrum from? How do you get something like that?
We have it here. It here. It's third-party tested. It's two of the best companies I play with out there. There's not a lot of colostrum companies. It's a brand new kind of thing. Leaky gut research is only like maybe a decade old, if that now. I mean, my mentor that taught me all this stuff, he was well ahead of his prime, Dr. John D'Onofrio. This guy was the gut master, in my opinion, and he had been talking about leaky gut since the first day I met him back in 2007, and supposedly he's been teaching this for like 20 years. Yeah. This guy knew about leaky gut like 30, 40 years ago. I mean, he was teaching how to fix the gut back then.
Way ahead of
time. And he was talking, he was way ahead of his time. Yeah. And now everyone's just starting to learn what colostrum and polyrich peptides do.
No, I mean, these are the teachings early on that, when you started treating me, these are the things you sold me on, because it's undeniable.
I had your baby on it, right? What are the 3 things I put your baby on? Do you remember?
Probiotics, of course, vitamin A, and then the vitamin D3, and then a little splash of silver in there at night.
in the colostrum.
In the colostrum.
In the colostrum.
Yep.
3 main things. You put that stuff right in a baby, you could get that baby so chunky, and when the baby gains weight, that's when you cut the colostrum. That's how you know the gut is actually sealed. When the gut is sealed, you gain weight. When the gut is really like still holy, these are the kids that are growing that are deficient. They're malnourished. Their immune systems are weak. These are the kids that their gut is still weak. They get one type of infection, hand, foot, mouth. It could be just from a daycare. They get one infection. You put a round of antibiotics in with a leaky gut already. This kid's gut is trash now. We're in the 70th percentile of the country now, and this will be that way. And this kid was going to eventually develop autoimmunity and cancer, one or the other. There's no way he can't. Autoimmunity is leaky gut, so he's on his way to getting something. And it starts that simple right there. So colostrum is a really big thing. When your baby's a baby, right, you cannot give that baby any foods. Nothing until like what? Until a certain marker, right? Until like 8, 9 months, whatever it is. Mm-hmm. But when everything is just purely breast milk until then. There's a reason for that. It's polyrich peptides. That's what's in the mother's milk. Nothing's better than mother's milk. We don't really need, we need the polyrich peptides, and a lot of kids need, let's say genetically, they're fair skin, they're red hair, they're already predisposed to a very thin liner in their gut to begin with, which means they need to be breastfed a little bit longer. They're more prone to autoimmunity already. Redheads, light skinned, fair kids, they're very autoimmune. They're very sensitive to light. They get blisters real easy. Their immune system trashes quickly. So those are the ones that need like more colostrum. So it depends on the ethnicity, too, on what you need. Latin, Spanish, I think they have really strong guts. It's just we are kind of like fatties when we get older and we like to eat food. You go over grandma's house on Sunday and she makes everything with gluten in it, and now you start developing bombs every week. It becomes a habit. By the time you're 60, you've got full-blown, you got a bad gut issue. Right. And then we're talking heart disease and cancer now.
All right. So far we talked about raising your immune system. The easiest way to do that's easily accessible to everybody is taking 100,000 IUs of vitamin A daily. Adults? Adults, yeah.
Adults.
And about 4,000 IUs of vitamin D?
No, I like, for adults right now, I'm taking about 20,000 IUs a day.
About 20,000 D3?
Yeah, for prevention. For children, I'd put them up around like 5.
Okay.
I'd put them, they don't need a ton, but as long as they have a couple other little factors involved, you don't need to spike it high. That's the plan. If you put just a little A in there, you put a little D, you put a little probiotics, you put a little bit of colostrum, the polyrich peptides in there, you just need a little bit of everything to build the immune system. Remember, it's like a big pie chart. One doesn't make the immune system. It's developed by like 5 or 6 different things.
Right.
And it goes for kids and adults too.
Yeah. So that's building your shield there to protect your body and protect your gut. Mm-hmm. And then you're talking about whether you have gut issues or you have a somewhat healthy gut, you take colostrum as needed to kind of boost those levels too. So now you're building the gut. The gut is going to directly connect to the brain. And between the gut and the brain, that's controlling your whole central nervous system, is controlling the map for your body, is controlling everything about you. So, I mean, can you talk about how some of these autoimmune issues affect the brain, stemming from the gut, and how that kind of correlates back and forth to one another, and why this is such a big deal?
Well, again, it all comes to the gut. The gut is the biggest factor here. So when these viruses, the reason why we're talking about this is because we're in a pandemic right now, but COVID and other /viruses, the first place they're going to go after is they're going to come in through the nasal cavity, or they're going to go into the mouth, which goes to the gut, and then they work their way out. So again, the gut is the main area. Now, let's say we have a leaky gut, and if we have a leaky gut and we have a brain hemispherity, they say 70% of the country has a brain imbalance. We're really strong in certain categories, and we're really weak in certain categories, and I think every one of us can say we are.
Yeah, the old argument, left brain, right brain person.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's very odd to find balanced people unless they go to like places like mine or places that specialize in brain balancing and stuff like that, where they can identify the hemispherity weaknesses. Now, based on the hemispherity weakness of the brain depends on what's going to happen in the gut, which is the crazy response. Remember, the brain is more of a receiving type of aspect. So let's say 100% of the way the brain function works, 10% is an output, 90% is an input. Now, out of that 90% of the input, 90% of that 90% comes from the gut alone. So the brain always is being contacted 90% of the time out of that 90% of the time out of the 90%, it's constantly coming from the gut. If we have problems in the gut, it puts our brain in problem. It's either going to be a right brain, left brain deficit now, depending on what is going on in the gut now. If we have more of a leaky gut, it's going to raise that left brain. The left brain is going to get really strong. That's where the immune side comes from. And it's going to attack the right side. Then we become autoimmunity. So that's for those type of people. If we have more of an immunity issue, then the left brain is going to get attacked, and then the right brain goes up, and then we have a weakened immune system on the left side. One of the easiest ways that I do this is I look at the palate. Palatal paresis is how you can tell what hemisphere is going on in the patient. Automatically, just on a 1-minute visual perspection of coming in and getting the exam, I can see what's going on in your brain right off of a 1-minute exam. It's all neurology based. It's all off the cranial nerves. They tell me what's going on in your brain. I could see if your left side's down, like, damn, you need more vitamin A, you need more vitamin D3, you need more minerals. So I make like programmed nutrition plans based on your examination. So if I know your left brain's down, you sure as heck need those pelagic body balance minerals. You need some vitamin A, you need D3, you need zinc, you need vitamin C, you need some really good probiotics. We need to get that left side stronger. Then if I'm on the right side, and let's say I look in the throat and I see the right side's down now I'm thinking more autoimmunity. I'm going to want to put more things into that gut, like oils and things that help soothe and cool to help seal that gut up. If I start to seal the gut up, then I could get the brain to stop firing to it to say there's a problem and leaking. So you're getting a direction to both sides of the window of the brain based on what's going on. So I know how to, like, I could look through your throat and tell you what window to go to. I have this type of plan or I have this type of plan, and it's very custom to what you actually need.
Well,
So
they're
what you're
starting to
saying is
find.
you're not guessing around here.
So if I say,
Sorry, Alex.
if I see like your right sides are down, which is very typical of a man because a man's very left brain dominant.
Yeah.
The immune system is run strictly out of the left brain. Well, guess what else is made hormonal wise out of the left brain? Why man loves it so much? Testosterone. Testosterone is what regulates and runs out of the same hemisphere. So if we keep boosting that side up, our immune system is going to be really damn good. So we've got 2 ways as men to boost our immune systems up if we're a left brain dominant man. And then our left brain dominant women are more of our athletes, our testosterone driven women. The biggest examples I could say is like Venus and Serena Williams. Mm-hmm. If you ever been in a room with them, you're not the biggest guy in the room anymore.
Tower
Yeah.
over you.
All right, these are some powerful, strong women. They're testosterone driven. They're athletes. They're professional athletes. Athletes always have a higher testosterone level. Their left brain. They're based on reaction. They're based on impulse. That's what the left brain is. So as men or as a left brain dominant hemisphere, we can bump it up through testosterone. So we could literally boost our immune systems as men by going to the gym. That's how we do it. And that's why we love the gym, and that's why women can't understand why men love the gym so much. It's our build for testosterone. It's our build for our immune system. So you're talking about hormones now and immunity. So you're building up the entire body of what a man needs by going to the gym. So, like I can look at your throat and go, oh, your right side's down. You need some colostrum in your life.
Yeah, what I was going to say is I know a lot of cases have came out of a lot of depression cases are primarily caused from a leaky gut, or it has a lot to do with the gut-brain connection of how if that's misfiring or not saying the right thing.
Yes.
There's a lot of depression out there that's linked to that, which I find it's very, very fascinating on that.
So just remember, the brain is always receiving. Always receiving. So the brain doesn't always have to put the output. The brain has to receive what's wrong with the body to be able to fix the body. Then it gives the output back on a receiving end that's negative for feedback. So the gut is literally the feedback system of the body. So the gut's constantly saying, hey, we're good, we're good, we're good, we're happy, we're happy, we're happy. Because remember, serotonin, 90% of serotonin is made in the gut. So serotonin is the precursor for dopamine. Dopamine is on the left side of the brain. That makes you happy, makes you smile. So if your gut's having a problem, your gut's trying to fight now. Now you become fight or flight. If it's fighting, that means we're talking more autoimmunity. We're going to be right side down. The left side's attacking now. It's been told to attack. Does it make sense?
Interesting, yeah.
Tremendous amount of sense. Yeah.
So you
Kinda
have to
scary how much sense it makes.
So you look in your throat and you're like, okay, look up the definition of palatal paresis. It's a cranial nerve 9 and 10 issue. Look at the back of the palate. Look and see which side's down. Which side's down is tell you what side of the brain hemisphere is down. There's other ways that I do it, and I kind of back it up through my visual inspection. I won't give all the tricks away, but that's one of the big tricks I do, though. And it tells me, like, okay, you need this, or you need this. And then I play with a lot of laser therapy, too, to kind of really boost. There's a lot of studies on photobiomodulation with laser therapy. That's like my niche. Shed Light is the company. They really produce some really high-power Class 3 lasers. They have proven that there's a couple of Russian technique type of therapy papers out there where if you put it on certain parts of the body And what laser therapy did to the blood, it actually oxygenated the blood. You can prove it through a pulse ox, and that's how we do it here. So I put a pulse ox on your finger, and I literally put the laser on 3 or 4 laser areas. I put it on your carotids. I'll put it on like your abdominal aorta where the main arterial areas are, the thickest arteries. I put it right on it. Boom. I can literally watch your oxygen go up. If your oxygen is going to your brain more and you produce, let's say you come in and you're 96% oxygen and you leave at 100%, I just gave you 4% of oxygen back to your brain. And your brain is going to be so much more balanced because it's not going to need, your brain needs oxygen to help you fight. Well, if you have more oxygen, it means your immune system is going to be stronger. These are like little techniques that I play with here and that I've learned from all of my colleagues from Shed Light. So we play with like not just the vitamins and the minerals with the gut, but I also blast them.
You have the laser here with you.
Yeah, we've got a few of them out here. Yeah, these things are awesome. I play with about 5 or 6 of these at a time, and I can really stimulate different portions. Because remember, if I shine the laser on the gut, and the gut is the receiving end to the brain, and the brain's just taking it as a receiving, and now I'm putting that in the microbiome. There's some crazy research on what photobiomodulation does to the microbiome. It fixes it. I wouldn't say it fixes it. That's a really tough word to say, but I would say it definitely improves it. It improves the microbiome on a general level. Plenty of research papers out there to do, plus my own testimonial on myself, which is what I'm talking about. So I play with like 5 or 6 of those, and I could put those all in your gut and just send stimulus to your brain through your gut. That's the way we play. That's how you stimulate cranial nerve 10. That's the vagus trick. So you do little tricks like this. If you could promote vagus response, you get parasympathetic response. Then we're gonna get the autonomics to defire. We don't want, everybody's in fight or flight these days. The biggest thing we want is everybody to chill the hell out, and let's take some vitamins, and let's take ways and do breathing exercises like what you talk about a lot.
Sure.
Let's do natural ways to calm ourselves down. So yeah, Shed Light lasers, that's one of my big handy tools. Those are the big, like if you see on our page or whatnot, we have lots of light shows, and we do lots of things for it. We do functional neurology tricks with it, and we also do for immunity boosting too. So we do all kinds of, we do crazy stuff here.
Yeah, it's great. If you check out my Instagram page, you show a picture of me in here the last time we talked about it. It's good stuff, man.
It's pretty cool.
Fun, yeah.
I've had the laser treatment a few times too.
Yeah.
I recommend it for everybody
to
get that done. You won't believe how it'll fire up that brain and get that body stimulated.
It's a life changer.
It's amazing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Future medicine right there.
Yeah.
So all right, so in kind of conclusion here, I mean, we've talked about vitamin A, vitamin D, again, boosting the immune system to optimal levels. So basically, if we're boosting that, we're fixing the gut. The gut is now communicating to the brain, and the brain is telling the gut and the body it's happy. We're at an optimal level here. So once and you take the colostrum to rebuild that gut as well. A few other things, but you can come see Dr. Steve for the rest of that. But these are the majorities. So you do these things, you're going to boost your body, and you're going to make yourself almost to a point of being impervious to viruses. So when people are running around with rubber gloves on and putting masks on to try to prevent the intake of, let's say, COVID-19, what you really should be doing is loading up on these things. You don't have to worry so much about using these apparatuses. You don't need gloves. You don't need masks because your body is now impervious to this. It doesn't matter then what you come into contact with is what you're saying.
Yeah,
if you're loading up on these things, it don't matter.
If the virus comes into contact in your immune system and you have vitamin A, D, zinc, all the studies that are all getting blasted right now from all these different scientists across the world, if you have all those in there and this virus comes in contact, your immune system freaking eats it up and spits it back out and says, not in my world, please.
Yeah, I want to say you'd be completely immune to it, but you're going to have all your army ready to play.
You're actually going to fight it like an army
Yeah.
and get rid of the virus, where that's what's supposed to happen. You don't want the virus to come in contact because you don't take probiotics because you don't understand it. You never asked me, and I don't try to sell you anything that you don't want. If I try to, you come in and you're cramping and I recommend magnesium and you say, and I'm never going to push it on you again. But when you cramp so bad and you keep coming in for the same reason, I'm going to keep talking about it. And then now that all this research keeps coming out and it's saying, yes, you do need this, you don't have to let that virus come in your system and remain dormant. That's what these people that are getting it from are in trouble from. The virus is coming in. They have no vitamins in their system. They have no minerals. They have no probiotics. They have nothing going on. And then on top of it, guess what? They have a list of 11 medications, and their gut's leaking like crazy. Well, guess what just happened? You don't have an immune system.
Yeah.
You can't fight that. You can't fight that, but you can prevent this. So everyone's like, oh, you're open? And I'm like, yeah, we are open, actually. Complete Care Chiropractic in Stuart, Florida is officially going to stay open. We have reduced hours because we're telling a lot of people to stay home that are sick, but we are helping, like,
following guidelines.
We are wiping every table down after
Mm-hmm.
every single patient. Mm-hmm. We're 6 feet. We're putting people in different rooms. We're keeping it very, very clean here. And people are like, oh, do you really think you're helping the curve? I'm like, heck yeah, we're helping the curve. I got the first line defenders coming in here. I got firefighters. I got police fighters. I've got nurses. I've got a lot of them coming in to understand what I'm doing.
Well, a lot of them are in pain too. They need the maintenance of your chiropractic, everything.
Chiropractic is immune boosting.
Yeah.
It makes you feel good.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't say that there's literature that backs up that it boosts the immune system. There probably is, but I mean, testimonial standpoint, does it make you feel stronger?
Absolutely.
Does it make you feel stronger?
Man, different person.
Camera lady, does it make you feel stronger? Yes. Rocket science here. You know what I mean? You could actually boost up on this stuff. And when the virus, if it does come in contact, which is pretty easy because look how many people it's spread to. But to overcome it, it's actually pretty easy.
Yeah. So let's spread some knowledge instead of fear.
Exactly.
Let's give people an outlet and some answers on how to really boost yourself and combat this a good way, the right way.
And the news. Turn the news off.
Yeah.
Stop watching it.
Yeah, don't
watch an updated portion for like maybe an hour at night, like maybe at the 6 o'clock news, and update yourself. But don't leave it on all day because the media scares you. It's designed to scare you. Guess what happens every time you're scared? Your adrenals spit out cortisol. Your bodies are marinating in cortisol. I don't know about you, but I sure as hell am not marinating in cortisol. And I go to work with I don't feel like this virus is going to affect me because my immune system is strong and all my patients that come in, they're all on it too. So guess what? We're not spreading it here. We're actually beating the damn curve here. I mean, how many cases are in Martin County?
It's like less than 100 or maybe
I've got
100.
a couple thousand patients in town, and they're all on my nutrition. They all know better. You know, so we're developing. I have like a nice cheat sheet for anybody that's interested in how to acquire all this stuff, and we'll have all the information posted at the end of this stuff.
You see this way, man. As long as I've been coming to see you, I don't even get sick anymore. You know, little sniffle here and there, and that's it. That's the extent of me getting sick. So you do what Steven is talking about here. You boost your immune, and you boost your gut. You're impervious to just about everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you got to protect. Protect and prevent. Being aware is the biggest key here. Is what we're trying to say. We're not trying to say like, oh, you need this or you need that. It's just be aware, and the research is there. Just read, people. Read.
Yeah,
Keep
try
your
to
immune
educate
system
yourself.
strong.
Yeah.
Yeah, read about some A. Read about D. Read about zinc. Read about silver. Read about probiotics. Read about your main key ingredients, what we just talked about, and understand what they're doing and why you're taking it. So when you do take it, you feel like you went to war when you went to work that day. When I take all of my vitamins in the morning, I feel like good luck trying to get me sick. I mean, I do. I mean, I don't feel like, and I haven't been to a medical doctor I haven't taken antibiotics in probably 15 years now. I mean, there's a trick to this,
Well, that's the other thing too.
huge.
On those lines, we haven't really talked about the covalent silver you use and what kind of makes covalent silver different than colloidal and why you use that form of it and why that's so important. So we'll kind of close up here and talk about that a little bit.
So covalent silver. So it's a much different company. We have the only U.S. patent basically for the company that I use.
It's actually based out of Florida, correct?
Yeah, everyone's like, well, I use colloidal. And I'm like, okay, well, colloidal's not that strong. And they look at me and they're like, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, if you read the patent of ASAP Labs, the company that I use, it's a covalent silver, which means that it's a 4-part nanoparticle molecule. So it's 4 parts versus like over the counter is only 1 part. So it's not that strong. It's literally, ours is 4 times stronger just from a molecule standpoint. And then what makes the company backed up even more is it has a UV charge on it now. So a lot of people ask me and they're not sold on the silver idea and this and this and that. And I'm like, listen, if you understand the history behind silver and the way they've used it in the previous history, you'll understand that this stuff works. It's legit. It kills things. It's hard to say that it kills things or it does this or it's going to kill the virus, but I'm sure as heck I'm going to take it as a prevention because it is a 4-part molecule system that's UV charged. That's what makes it the difference now. So the UV charge is what puts the voltage into the nanoparticles now, and it rides through the system. And you could see they show what silver does in Petri dishes. It wards off a lot of things. On the gel that I have, it talks about killing MRSA, talks about killing candida, fungus, infections, staph was on there. I mean, you're talking bacteria, fungus now, and virus. You just killed all three of those, and that's tested in laboratories on the gel. I can't say that about the liquid because they don't have those testings done yet, but on the gel, when you can say you could kill those three things on contact, maybe that's the best hand sanitizer to use, don't you think?
Right?
I can't keep silver on my shelves right now. I'm on back order. The country's in crisis right now. Literally, the healthiest hand sanitizer to use, and people don't know this, is their gel, their silver gel. It kills and destroys a lot of things based on studies. That's what I use for my hand sanitizer every day. I don't put chemicals on my hands from actual, hand sanitizers. I use silver gel.
Yeah, it's good stuff. I told you I see a lot of people like functional medicine doctors and holistic doctors that I follow on social media. That's why when you posted about silver on social media the other day, I said, I saw a lot of people doing it in the nebulizer. And my son had a cough for like a couple weeks, and I said, this is perfect. We have a nebulizer at home and put some silver in there. I see everybody doing it, man. It works. It's not it's not a cure-all, but it definitely helps. They're coughing out of control, and you just throw that mask on. Like you said, if it's able to kill a lot of the bad bacteria and stuff by inhaling it, you can only imagine it can help.
Mm-hmm. It's going to open pathways. Yeah, that's the big trick, honestly. You're either going to put it in a neti pot for this COVID-19 prevention. You're going to put it in a neti pot. You're going to use distilled water. You're not going to use regular, water in case it has bacteria in it because you don't want it to get into the sinuses. We're trying to destroy it. So you're going to keep the salt out, the salt that comes with the neti pot. You're going to put that away, use it later. You're going to have distilled water with just 1 teaspoon of silver you're going to put in that thing. And you're going to let it run through. You're going to go both ways through. That'll basically clean out the sinuses and get all the mucus out. Because remember, the virus wants mucus. So if you can just clean and flush the mucus out alone, you're going to do really good. And then the big thing is nebulizing. If you have a nebulizer at home, you just fill it up to the little line. It'll take about 15 to 20 minutes to get rid of it. And just breathe that thing in. Suck it into your sinuses. Because remember, it's like neti potting, but in a vaporizing formula now. So it's just as good. But doing those two things, I would say that's one of the biggest prevention ways to get it. Get rid of that mucus out of your sinuses. If you live local here in Stuart, I'm running a really cool laser deal. You could put laser therapy right on the sinuses, and you can feel how much that actually opens up your sinuses. It cleans it right out. It opens them up. So cleaning your sinuses is going to be one of the biggest tricks on the factors of this whole crisis. So.
Well, the other thing too, I know that you use some silver for is too, is if you're somebody that's had to use a tremendous amount of antibiotics and now you're feeling some adverse effects from that and you want to get away from antibiotics, using silver is a way to get away from that, except for in extreme cases or for things above and beyond.
Be careful how you say that. But.
Yeah, no, I don't mean completely because antibiotics are needed and they do help, especially in certain cases. But if you're somebody that has to use it all the time and it's hurting your gut, this is another avenue you can use.
Think of it as it's going to go in there and help. Definitely, it's anti. It's pathogenic. Definitely. But the thing of it is if you do the little steps on all the prevention methods that we talked about, you're not going to have to worry about that stuff.
Right.
When you don't go to the doctor for years and years and years, and I can't tell you how many patients that I have in town that were chronically sick once a month. These families refer so many families to me because, this stuff's going around and their kids are like bulletproof to this and they can't even believe it. And, they haven't been to the doctor now under my care for a couple of years. They haven't been to the doctor once. No ear infections anymore. It's amazing what happens when you build the gut up.
Well, when you listen to you, you are my primary care doctor. So, you know what I mean? I don't need anybody else aside from what I have done with you, So I'll just say that as a testimonial.
Goes a long way, man.
Steve, I'd like to thank you for your time. I think it's awesome that you're willing to spend some of your time and spread some of this, knowledge and love to people out there that are looking for a way to help themselves. Thanks, Alex, for letting us on your show here.
Of course.
Talk about this stuff. And, I'm just glad to be a part of it to kind of put a little bit of light out there for somebody to see a video and learn about
people
really cost-effective ways on how to boost yourself.
Yeah. We go over a lot of terms that not a lot of people, they hear about it, but they don't understand it. And it's not like you can research it and just have it all broken down to the layman's terms. So that's kind of why we do this, so we can get you to kind of understand and know what it is you need. And if you need further assistance, we're going to put a link on the bottom of this to contact and how to get a hold of us. And, we can run through the process and we can put everybody through it. We're accepting new patients. We are open. We are definitely open, and we are breaking the curve, baby.
and we'll have an email contact.
We need the country to get back to work, so let's do this.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Like we said, we'll put all the places to find Dr. Steve. We'll list an email account there. So if you want to get in touch with him, also his phone number, give his office a call. Jeff, I appreciate it. I know you originated this. I appreciate you guys coming on and sharing a lot of this information. Like you said, I think it's important for a lot of people. They think they know, like, I'm going to go on a diet. I'm going to be healthy. I'm going to drink some Diet Coke, and I'm going to eat off the low carb. So I think this is great to be able to educate people, really bring up the importance of the gut. And I think that's what the show for my podcast is kind of around, is to be able to help people and educate them. So I appreciate it, guys. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
Go and follow us on Elevated Lifestyle Lab on Instagram, Facebook. Share this post with everybody just to get it out there and educate some people. Really appreciate it, guys. And everybody stay safe out there. Stay healthy.
Amen.
Thanks, brother.
Yep.